Hey everybody, Gary with Basecamp Trading. Let's take a look at how we were trading the markets today. The volatility has been just nuts in the markets as of recent, and so some of our smaller time frame charts are really whipping us around, but we are finding great trades and signals off the 30-minute charts. So today we were trading signals off the 30-minute chart in several markets, and we had some really great setups. And usually what we're looking for on a 30-minute chart is we're looking for trend. We're looking for, in this particular case, because we're looking at short setups, trend is in a downtrend. We're making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. The 50 EMA is underneath the 200 EMA. The 5 EMA crosses the 13 EMA to the downside, and so we're looking for our short setups, and this is our confirmation criteria for our short setups. These setups were also being confirmed by momentum. You can see our MQ momentum oscillator was also making lower highs and lower lows. So we had trend, all of our EMAs in alignment, setups, and momentum all confirming everything to the downside. And so our first trade off of the euro was right off of this shooting star right here. Euro made a little push up, found resistance right near the 50 EMA, pulled back underneath the 5 and 13 were still in a sell mode, and this closed in a shooting star. The next bar made a little pullback and then triggered this to the downside, and that initiated our trade. This bar triggers our setup bar, and down we went. Made a little pullback, consolidated, set up a bear flag, which was also a really nice setup. Again, everything in alignment, triggered the bear flag, made another push lower. Actually, this was a fairly bullish bar back to the other upside, because this opened at the bottom, closed at the top, but then this was a very bearish bar. Opened at the top, closed at the bottom, set up as a bear flag. Next bar triggered that to the downside as well. Euro continued to work its way lower. We set up this doji right here, which could have been a reversal doji. If the next bar triggered it to the upside, that would have been a reversal doji. That never did trigger back to the upside, and we just continued to push lower right into the close on the euro. Then on the ES, we had some really nice signals on the ES as well. I'm sorry, that was crude. There we go. There's the ES. We had some really nice signals on the ES as well. ES made a rally early in the morning, pushed up through the 50 EMA, and actually went right up here to the 200 EMA, where it found resistance. The next bar was an extremely bearish bar, though, leading into our next setup. This opened at the top, large bar to the downside, high-low reversal. The entire body of the bar was selling, left just a very small wick right here, but a nice strong lead up into this next bar. This was a doji bar. We had a little consolidation off of the big push down, but it was a nice strong bar leading into the trigger of this bear flag right here. This doji set up as a bear flag. The next bar triggered it to the downside and made another nice little push to the downside. Then we consolidated during the lunch hour. We know that things kind of get choppy and quiet during the lunch hour, and we set up another 30-minute bear flag. This flag triggers to the downside, and then the ES just tanked pretty much the rest of the day. And crude, we had some really nice setups in crude as well. Again, 5 and the 13 crossed to the downside, 50 EMA under the 200 EMA. First trade of the day wasn't in perfect alignment, but a very bearish setup leading into the bear flag. Again, these flags, we want to see a strong move in the direction of the trade we're going to take, and we had that. This bar opened at the top, closed at the bottom. This bar opened at the top, closed at the bottom. This bar opened at the top, closed near the bottom, caused the 5 and the 13 EMA to cross to the downside, consolidated after this initial push down, set up the bear flag. Next bar triggers it to the downside, opens at the top, closes at the bottom, breaks underneath the 50 EMA, and just continues to work its way lower. Had a little pullback right here. You can see we hit significantly undervalued right there. We know that when we hit significantly undervalued on our value charts, that's an area we could pull back, consolidate, potentially even reverse. We consolidated with this doji bar, indecision bar, and then just continued lower. This bar actually triggered as a continuation doji, and it just continued to push its way lower. Made another pullback, set up another bear flag. That bar triggered to the downside. And then we set up this reversal doji right here. We left this bottoming tail. Body of the bar was still selling, but that was a pretty bullish bar. It pushed down, and then the buyers stepped in and pushed that back up, leaving this big bottoming tail. And then the next bar was actually a pretty bullish bar. Opened at the top, closed or bottom, closed at the top. Next bar opened at the top or bottom, closed at the top. Hit the 50 EMA, rejected there. Next bar tried to push up through the 50 EMA, also rejected there. The entire body of this bar was selling, pushed all the way down, made a little pullback right here, and then set up this doji. And when we were in the room, we were looking at this bar right here as it was forming, and we were saying that if this next bar triggers this doji, if it triggers it to the upside, it'll be a continuation doji to the upside above 25.21, or if it triggers it to the downside, it'll be continuation doji to the downside under 24.63. And then this bar opened right here, made a little push up, and then headed lower. Triggered this bar to the downside at 24.63, and then crude just proceeded to dump. The low of this bar got all the way down to 22.39. So our entry was off of this bar at 24.63. Again, we had a low all the way down to 22.39, over 200 ticks. We were trading this short. I had a downside target at 190 ticks, so my runner came off at 190 ticks. It actually went a little lower than that, but my downside target was at 190 ticks, so we came off at 190 ticks on that one. Again, pushed a little bit lower, hit significantly undervalued. Again, we know that when we touch significantly undervalued, especially after a big push like that, it's an area that we could consolidate or make a pullback, and we were done trading crude to the short side for the rest of the day. But again, with all this crazy volatility, the 30-minute chart has been a great chart for us to trade. We're getting great signals off the 30-minute chart and allowing us to avoid some of the crazy back and forth stuff that we were experiencing on the short-term time frame charts. So all in all, a nice way to end the week. Lots of profits in the afternoon trading session, trading signals off the 30-minute chart.